Israel's far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has rejected President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan, calling it a betrayal of lessons from the 7 October Hamas attack. He called the recent celebration absurd and stressed that Israel will consult and decide carefully. Smotrich opposes any agreement that includes Hamas disarmament and a transitional government. Meanwhile, the Kremlin welcomes President Trump's Gaza peace plan and hopes it will bring peace to the Middle East. Russia supported efforts to end the conflict but remains critical of Israel's actions. Moscow also continues to back a two-state solution to resolve the crisis. In another development, Qatar says that it will hold talks with the Turkish officials over President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. Doha's foreign ministry added that Hamas will responsibly review the proposal aimed at ending the conflict and ensuring humanitarian aid.
وعد الوفد التفاوضي بدراستها بمسؤولية، وهو الأمر الذي يتم الآن. وحتى اليوم أيضا سيكون هناك اجتماع آخر بحضور الجانب التركي كذلك مع الوفد التفاوضي. كل ذلك هو بهدف التشاور حول هذه الخطة والدفع باتجاه كما قلنا نهاية لهذه الحرب من خلال هذه الخطة. ما زال الوقت مبكر حتى نتكلم عن ردود، ولكن نحن نتفائل حقيقة بأن هذه الخطة كما قلنا هي خطة شاملة، والآن يقوم الوفد بدراستها بمسؤولية، ونستمر في التواصل معهم كما قلت من خلال الاجتماعات التي ستجري مساء اليوم.
Dan Perry is joining me on the telecast. Dan, let's hear it from you with regards to this statement that has now been released by Qatar. You know, the key negotiator that has acceptable to United States of America and Israel and Hamas, that Hamas is going to responsibly, this is what it has used, the term responsibly going to review this 20-point proposal and then come up with a response. Do you think at this point of time there is likelihood of peace being negotiated between both sides, and not in months and years, but in weeks?
This will show the degree to which Hamas is genuinely suicidal. We have here an interesting situation. Most of the world, maybe all the world with the exception of the Trump administration, is disgusted by the brutality of Israel's war in Gaza, but at the same time, most of the world is supportive of Israel's aims, which are the return of its hostages and the dismantling of Hamas as a governing and military power in Gaza. It's a little strange because they do support those goals. And at this point, those goals are supported not just by the US and European powers, but also the entire Arab League, including Qatar, which is supposedly Hamas's ally. Now we will see what happens when Hamas is completely isolated. I can't guarantee that they'll accept this. The terms proposed are good for Israel and good for the Palestinian people and good for Gaza, but they're not necessarily great for Hamas because they are a surrender by Hamas. It amounts to the surrender that Hamas has been refusing to carry out for 2 years now and forcing Israel to go after them in this situation where civilians are being used as human shields, and Israel ends up being accused of all kinds of terrible crimes, and its leaders indicted in The Hague. Hamas wants this. Hamas is indifferent to the suffering of its own people. I would say Hamas hates Israel much more than they love their own people. So can Qatar bring to bear enough pressure on Hamas to make them accept this, to make them say enough is enough, and we're going to lay down our arms and let in a transitional government and eventually the Palestinian Authority, who they, Hamas, kicked out of Gaza 18 years ago in a coup, essentially? I'm not so sure. On the other hand, their isolation is total. And I have to think they're eventually going to run out of money because Qatar is no longer, as far as I know, supplying them with money. It's conceivable they have other sources of income from China, yes, Iran, who knows?
But then, what do you make of the very public apology that has been made by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the Qatari leadership? He says that he regrets the quote-unquote violation of Qatar's sovereignty by the Israeli Defense Forces, and he's vowed that Israel will never again conduct any strike on Qatar in the future.
It's all theatrics, and all of it is lies. I don't believe for a second that the U.S. did not know of the attack. I don't think Netanyahu would have carried out an attack on a country that hosts the largest U.S. airbase in for many thousands of miles all around, without getting the green light from Trump. I'm not even completely sure Qatar didn't know about it, but it created a big embarrassment, and Netanyahu apologized because Trump made him do it. It's as simple as that. But of course, it wasn't done in public. It was done in a private phone call, creating a situation where they each can present a different narrative, and it's less humiliating than it otherwise might have been.
Okay. Dan, stay on with me. We have more information. Israelis in Jerusalem have been positive about President Trump's peace plan for Gaza. Israelis have said that the deal is one that the state of Israel can live with. However, Israelis also remain uncertain as to whether Hamas will accept the terms of the peace plan and dismantle their weapons after 2 years of fighting.
Great day for Israel. I don't see anyone from right to left who's going to go against it. The only question is now if Hamas will approve and end this misery that we are in it for almost 2 years.
I feel that whatever happens, we absolutely need to end the war and to bring the hostages home. I think this should have been done 2 years ago. I think we've done it way too late, with far too many deaths on both sides, our soldiers, our hostages, and the Gazan people. But I think it's a great move. I just wonder if Hamas will agree to dismantling their weapons and leaving Gaza. I mean, they've been fighting for 2 years to maintain their power. So I wonder if they will.
Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar says that Israel remains committed to its war goals while accepting the US-Gaza peace plan. He warns Hamas may try to avoid implementing it. Sa'ar's hopes for hostage releases and a demilitarized Gaza talks with Serbia also focus on cooperation in education, culture and diplomacy.
Accepted President Trump's plan for ending the war in Gaza and for a better future. It shouldn't surprise anyone because we always wanted to end this war. We always said that we are committed to the goals that we set, but we prefer to achieve them through diplomatic means. Today, too, we are committed to these goals, as set by our security cabinet. The one who refused to end the war until now is also the one that initiated it on October 7th, Hamas. And Hamas is solely responsible for its continuation since then and for the suffering of both Israelis and Palestinians during the past 2 years.
Dan stays with me on the telecast. Dan, conflicting statements. While there is the foreign ministry and, of course, the leadership led by Prime Minister Netanyahu, who have supported and accepted, acknowledged the recognition of the 20-point peace plan that was announced by President Trump. We also have the Finance Minister, Bezalel Smotrich, who has completely rejected this plan, this peace plan. Why are there conflicting statements being given within Netanyahu's leadership, within Netanyahu's cabinet?
Because there are conflicting schools of thought in Israel. The coalition contains a far-right element represented by Smotrich and another miscreant named Ben-Gvir, who basically dream of eternal occupation of Gaza, of finding a way to get the population to leave and to replace them with Jewish settlers. Now, that is by no means the policy of the actual government. It's certainly anathema to most of Israel, and it would be an absolute disaster. But that is what Smotrich wants. Smotrich is a religious fanatic and an ultra-nationalist. So the preference of Smotrich and Ben-Gvir to have the war continue against the will of most of the people of Israel is one possible reason why it's continued. It's widely thought in Israel that Netanyahu prolonged the war longer than he needed to, for fear that his coalition would otherwise fall apart. The thing is, elections have to be held within a year, and it's widely understood that because of other differences in the coalition, the government will soon collapse. So Netanyahu probably will have to face the voter, or if he runs again, in less than a year, probably something like 9 months. And he can't do that with great chances of success if the war is continuing. So I think his electoral logic flips from appeasing Ben-Gvir to keep the coalition together to actually walking away from that in favor of a more centrist and more peace-oriented platform in order to have any hope of winning the next election in Israel. The vast majority of the Israeli people are happy with this plan because it aligns with their goals. They get back the hostages, and Gaza and Hamas is not only removed from governance in Gaza, but is dismantled as a military force, and there's more than lip service given to the idea of de-radicalizing the Palestinians and forcing the Palestinian Authority as a condition to its restoration to Gaza to do reforms, which primarily mean the school curriculum, which oddly still teaches children to hate Jews and fight them, oddly. So this is complex, but you know what? The celebrations are a bit premature. It's like saying, this is great, I'm announcing the sale of my car, but as long as the buyer agrees. Well, the buyer hasn't yet agreed. And if the buyer, Hamas, doesn't agree, and as I said before, that would be remarkable given that they're completely isolated, but also not inconceivable. If they don't agree, then Trump has given Netanyahu carte blanche to ratchet up the war, which I don't think is what he wants necessarily, but I think is what may happen. And that is bad for everyone. Because Hamas will be crushed, Israeli soldiers will die, and there will be an insurgency for the next couple of years.